Welcome to Charter Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. We are in Riverside today. We are joined by the Vice President of the Riverside Community College District. And sir, I'd like to speak with you. Oh, his name is Nathan Miller, by the way. I'd like to speak with you, Mr. Miller, about the recently proposed budget by Governor Brown. And it's hard to deny that he has a soft spot for K-12, K-14, and higher ed. There is an increase for higher education in the amount of about 2%, $14.9 billion to higher education, a chunk of that to community colleges. What do you make of the budget?
Well, we're going to need some people to run California, after all of us are dead and gone.
Yeah,
so
clearly.
Investing in education in the future.
It's a good idea.
Probably a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
What do I make of it? The budget, a lot of it is based off of assumptions,
right.
Future assumptions. What's the state of our economy? Do we look solid right now? Economists can go, they're all across the board on that.
It's interesting, you talk about it's based upon assumptions. So I was reading the press
Not all
releases.
of it, but there's a good, in terms of
prognostication.
Yeah.
I was reading the press releases that were issued by the leadership. And I read the Republican press releases and the Democratic press releases. The Republicans were much more positive about the governor's proposed budget than the Democrats, because the budget that the governor issued had very conservative projections, whereas the Democrats wanted much more rosy projections so they could have more money to spend.
We'll say relatively conservative.
Relative, but you know what I'm getting at.
It's long been, it's a behind, the doors joke,
right.
that
Jerry Brown.
Jerry Brown is the most conservative Democrat.
Right, or the best Republican governor.
Jerry Brown,
yeah,
right.
The best Republican governor the state's ever had.
Right. So I think he recognizes his responsibility when your party is, ruling both houses of the legislature and the executive branch. You have to have this reasonable voice that shows that they're not just
spending away.
Going for everything that they want and spending like drunken sailors,
But at the same
right?
time, look, community colleges got hit very hard during the recession.
Yeah, no,
and if
absolutely.
his projections were rosier, presumably community colleges would get more money.
He's paid a lot more attention to community colleges, I think, than governors have in the past. For better or worse, there is the issue of us taking over adult education,
right, I remember that.
Not a very well thought out plan, and that's still ongoing.
Right.
And he recognized that there's a need at least to try and figure out what that plan should be.
Which is interesting, just for our viewers. Adult ed, you'd think would be in the community college's purview, but right now it's a K-12 option.
At least a good portion of
right.
it. And I can't tell you where things would go. My guess would be with something like that, they're all career tech education type programs is an easy
right.
absorption, but there are other things that they do in adult education that may be working a deal out with counties.
Would
County
it be,
Board
for
of Eds
example, English language learning,
English
remediation?
language, remediation, high school diplomas,
right.
all that stuff.
So overall, does RCCD feel as if the funding presented by the state is adequate when you add in the tuition and fees, that you're in a pretty good situation right now?
Well, it could always be better, it could always be worse,
Fair
right?
enough.
I think we have solid leadership managing our finances at the district, and
right.
they do a good job making every dollar stretch as far as possible. I mean, we have a top-notch grants team that goes out there and brings a lot, like record amounts of grant money to our institution. That because of that, we're able to do a lot more than a lot of the other community colleges.
I want to ask you about a proposal that is floating around both at the national level, the state level. Some of your sister districts have adopted versions of it, and it focuses upon providing free community college.
They haven't adopted. They've adopted. There are folks that have adopted resolutions or.
Right, but what I mean is, for example, like Long Beach or San Luis Obispo, they'll have a free semester or a free year for local residents, meaning a version of free community college. But your point's well taken.
Yeah, well, somebody's got to pay for it, and free community college is a great soundbite, especially when folks aren't thinking about all the sausage making that goes on behind it.
Right.
How do you actually get from here to there? But what do you do if you offer free community college and you go with this initiative, and all of a sudden you have folks that aren't necessarily held accountable to whether or not they finish a class because it's free, and they go halfway or they drop out. And we've already had a problem with students that have been absolutely impacted by budget cuts, and they haven't been able to get the classes they need. They can't get out of there in 2 years. So it creates a whole new nightmare of those types of issues. And then what, you're going to add a whole new regulatory action to that. Free community college is irresponsible because we're talking about students that are going to an institution where they're supposed to learn about responsibility. It's their first foray into the adult world. And we do have adult students too, but when you're saying free community college, you're addressing those students, right? K through 12, it's mandatory education. We want them to go through that. We give them a foundation to build upon. Community college, four-year universities, that's where they are doing the building. And it's their responsibility. So it's not something that should be handed to them on a silver platter. In fact, even Hillary Clinton, spoke out against this idea that free community college was of a benefit when you have students that need to be responsible. They should pay something.
And I also want to bring up that California happens to have the least expensive community college tuition in the nation.
Yeah, it's one of the best deals in town.
Right.
So you go anywhere else, you're going to pay a lot of money to have to get a quality education, and you get a top-notch education here, particularly in Riverside Community College. In our district, our colleges do a fantastic job, equal to just about any university around.
And there's no question that with college expenses increasing, folks are attending community college as a matter of necessity. It's not so much just for remediation anymore. It's they're going to get great education.
People got thrust out of their old jobs and they've had to find new jobs. So anybody going out espousing that free community college is a fantastic idea is completely out of touch and completely irresponsible. I think it's
the idea of personal responsibility, that at least you have some skin in the game if you're paying at least some amount.
It sounds good to people that want to see that additional funding come through, but
and as I understand
that's a lot of money that we're talking about.
And as I understand it too, sir, is it something like 80% get some type of tuition remediation or remission anyway through they qualify?
Quite a few of our students. When you meet certain criteria, it's more or less paid for.
Right.
When you go through it.
So you mentioned your colleges and how outstanding they are, and right now they're celebrating.
Yeah.
RCCD is celebrating its 100th anniversary, and that would be Riverside City College itself.
Correct.
Then there are two independent colleges.
Norco College and Moreno Valley, they're celebrating their 25th anniversary. And 25th
you're a graduate.
I'm not. My wife went to Norco College.
But didn't you attend? Where did you go?
I went to El Camino Community College.
Okay, so fair enough. But so your wife's a graduate.
Community college.
Right.
It was foundational for me.
So, yeah, tell me about this milestone, though. I mean, RCCD and now Norco and
well, we've been around for 100 years. Nobody would ever expect that, unless you're in the know. I mean, you wouldn't think that our institution has been around that long. We have. RCC has been a flagship. But Norco and Moreno Valley, their colleges started out as satellite campuses. Right. They were RCC, Norco, RCC, Moreno Valley. Well, now they're fully accredited institutions in their own right. And I will say that, with the programs and the different directions that they've taken off in with regard to the communities that they serve, they've accomplished amazing milestones.
Why? Why have they been able to be so successful?
Well, Moreno Valley, that community is nothing like Riverside, is nothing like Norco College. I'll take Norco, for example, because I'm more intimately aware of some of the programs that they're offering. They are focused on technology. They are the technology school. They have an amazing game development program. These are things, if you go into any high school where students feel like they're not getting what they want out of their education. They don't know if they want to go to a four-year university. You ask them, who here wants to learn how to create, develop, and sell video games? They all play them, and it's a great opportunity and a way out for a lot of students.
His name is Nathan Miller. He is the Vice President of the Riverside Community College District. I'm Brad Pomerance in Riverside, Charter Local Edition.